So often on this channel, I teach camera settings, ISO, dynamic range, etc. But every now and then, I'll find something that I'm not able to figure out myself. And so, I need your help. Hi everyone, welcome to Pal to Tech. About a month ago, I had a viewer send in this letter where he was stuck trying to figure out an issue on the Fujifilm X-H2S camera. This intrigued me because it must be something he was missing, and often I figure that if someone is missing a setting somewhere in the camera, perhaps others are as well, and that would make a good video. The problem was I didn't have an X-H2S camera to be able to test it out and check it for him. So I reached out to Fujifilm, and they sent one over for me to test, but I had to return it back to Fujifilm in 2 weeks. So I had a very narrow time period to test this out. Now, normally 2 weeks is plenty of time for me to test an issue on a camera. However, right as I was about to get started, I started to feel off. And a few days later, surprise, surprise, surprise. And a full-blown case of, that thing that rhymes with Shovid. Okay, and let me tell you something, it knocked me right on my back, which is why there's only one video from me for this week, by the way. Anyway, maybe it's this fog haze of catching this thing, or maybe the short time frame, but I was unable to figure out what was causing this issue for my viewer. So, I need your help. Let me explain what's going on here. As you know, there are two ways that you can start shooting in movie mode on an X-H2S camera. The first is by rotating the PASM dial into the movie icon like this. Once you have the camera set this way, you can start shooting in movie mode either by pressing the shutter release button or by pressing the red movie button. Now, the second way that you can start the camera in movie mode is if you're actually shooting still photos and you've got the PASM dial set to anything other than the movie camera. For example, you've got it set to A or S. Now, if you have the camera in any of these settings, if you press the shutter release button, you're going to take a still photo. However, you can still use the red movie record button right here. And this button will start the camera recording in movie mode even when you're in stills mode in the PASM dial. Now, according to Fujifilm, the movie settings that your camera will use when pressing the red movie recording button are those settings under the movie camera icon in the still photography menu. But for other settings, say the ISO or the compression, you first need to set that PASM dial to the movie icon, and then you go into settings, and from here is where you can set all of those other items, such as ISO. We now arrive at the mystery. Here's what's going on. Whenever you are in stills mode, okay, so you have the PASM dial set to stills mode, right? Anytime you press the red recording button right here and you start shooting, the camera puts itself into auto ISO. Watch this. I'm gonna go ahead and press the red record button. Boom, just like that. Look here, do you see how it's in auto ISO mode? Check it out. Look how the ISO is changing because the exposure is changing. And here's what's so weird about it. If I rotate the PASM dial back to the movie icon, which of course gives me access to all of the movie settings, when I go into the movie settings menu and I scroll down to ISO, the choices that I have, one of them is auto ISO. So I can choose auto ISO from the menu, but I don't want to do that. Say I want to set my ISO to a fixed value of 200. I move it to 200, boom, just like that, okay? And this will work, but only and only if the camera's PASM dial is rotated to the movie icon. If it is, and I press the shutter release button, boom, just like that, have a look at this. 200 ISO. And that's exactly what it should do. That's normal. And still having the PASM dial set to the movie icon, if I go ahead and I press the red movie record button like this, same thing. It stays at a fixed value of 200, which is what we want. However, if I rotate the PASM dial to any of the still modes, let's put it in aperture priority, and then I go and I press the red movie record button, have a look at this. You see how it's auto ISO again. It shouldn't be doing that. Remember, we had set it to ISO 200. And even if I set my ISO using the top button right here, boom, I've got my ISO set to 200, fixed value. But again, if I press the red record button, the camera is back to using auto ISO. as I said in the beginning of this video, I'm a little out of it right at the moment, which is, and I can't figure out why this is happening or how you can override the ISO so that it stays at the value you set it at in the menu, even if you press the red video record button. It always defaults to auto ISO, which may be fine in a number of cases when you're shooting, but it does cause exposure jumps, and ideally there should be a way to have your ISO setting sort of carry through over to the movie shooting setting that's started when you press the red movie record button. And frankly, I'm mentioning ISO and demoing this for you because that's what my viewer told me. However, there may be, for all I know, other settings that are not getting carried over that you make in the menu, and then when you go to press the red record button when the PASM dial is in anything other than the movie mode. And so this is where you come in. Are there any XH2S users out there that know of a way where you can set the camera so that if someone presses the red record button, the camera will not use auto ISO and will instead use whatever ISO value you had put in the camera menu settings? And just to be clear, this mystery that I'm talking about only affects the red record button when the PASM dial is in any other setting except for the little camera icon here. If you have the PASM dial set to the little camera icon and you press the red record button, it will work. It will use that fixed value of whatever ISO you set. However, the minute you rotate this dial to something else and you go and you press the red record button, it's back to auto ISO. Why is this happening? Is it something that I'm missing? I wouldn't put it past me this week. Or is there just no way to do this? And if that's the case, hey, Fujifilm, maybe allow us to override this in a future firmware update. Anyhow, that wraps up today's video. If you have any insight on this whatsoever, please let us know down in the comments. I'm gonna go take it easy because I'm still feeling a bit fatigued. However, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you found the video helpful or at least entertaining. And if you did, be sure to give it the like and subscribe. I am definitely gonna be signing off now. However, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you in a new video, and hopefully lots more videos, including a live stream that I really want to do next week. Take care.